Hello and welcome to O'side Demystified. This is our 7th episode and I'm your host and Councilmember Rick Robinson. Now, last episode, we had a little fun and explored the important role that the engineering profession plays in our city operations. Today, we will continue to learn a bit more about development and the way our city grows. And also stay tuned to the very end where we'll have a very special guest join us. We'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Scott Ashton, and I'm CEO of the Oceanside Chamber of Commerce. Each month, the Chamber holds its second Tuesday coffee meeting to provide an opportunity for our members to make new connections and grow their businesses. It has been exciting to see so many new relationships building through our Chamber events. If you are a business owner looking to expand your network, I encourage you to check out our Tuesday coffee and other networking events. More information is available at oceansidechamber.com.
Welcome back, everyone. And I'd like to introduce you to Darlene Nicandro, our Director of Development Services for the city. And hi.
Hi there.
How are you?
Good.
Good.
How are you?
Appreciate you being here today and working with me and to explain a little bit about what development services is and does for the city. And I always like to start off just to share a little bit about yourself and how you got to this position. And so if you don't mind, why don't you just talk about yourself for a minute?
Okay. Thanks for having me. I was born and raised here in San Diego. I grew up in Rancho Penasquitos, and I went to UCSD for my undergraduate in urban studies and planning, and then went to UCLA for getting my master's in urban studies and planning. And really, I started interning when in probably 1999, and just fell in love with public service. I don't know. I really liked the idea of being involved and making decisions and really impacting issues that affect the community. And ever since then, I've really been working with government agencies. So I was with the Port of San Diego for about 10 years.
Okay. In what capacity? What'd you do?
I actually started out as an intern. Okay. And eventually, when I left, I was the Director of Environmental and Land Use Management, overseeing development projects as well as the environmental health of the Bay. And then I went to the city of Irvine. I was there for 6 years. I had an amazing opportunity there to work on the Orange County Great Park and the Great Park neighborhoods. And also I was the Deputy Director of Community Services overseeing parks for the city. So that was really cool.
And then came to Oceanside from there?
Yeah, I came to Oceanside. It's funny because when I was a kid, my mom would tell me, do not stop in Oceanside. Whatever you do, if you're on the 5 and you have to use the restroom or, you need to get gas, just make your way onto Carlsbad. And so when I saw there was an opening for a job at Oceanside, and I hadn't been in the area for years, and I went down Mission Avenue and saw Oceanside, I was so amazed. There's such great development. It's complete 180.
Yeah. And how long have you been with the city?
I've been with the city for 2 years, 1 year as the director.
Okay. And your background primarily then is a planner, right?
Yes.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about your job as a director. What comes out of it? This is all about the mystery of the city. So that's a mystery. It's a mystery to me. What do you do?
It's a mystery to me sometimes too. Basically, development services is what it says it is. It's really taking projects cradle to grave and for code enforcement beyond the grave.
Okay.
So I oversee planning, engineering, building, and code enforcement. So in that sense, taking projects from their inception through an application, then through design, then through construction, and then ensuring that projects are in conformance with the city code and the zoning ordinance.
So in our last program, we actually had our city engineer here, but we spoke more along the lines of engineering in general. We were exploring why a city has engineers and what they do. And I want to get a little bit more into the work of the other departments and stuff. So can you tell us the building? We all think, building, but what generally does a building department do?
So the building department or division, their key purpose is to ensure that development is done in accordance with the building code, the state building code, ensuring that projects are done that maintain sanitary and safe conditions. They issue building permits. They do inspections during construction process and after construction is done. And they really are the first face that you run into when you walk into the development services lobby of City Hall.
Okay, and I'll get back to them a little bit. And then you said planning. Mm-hmm. So what do planners do?
Planners have, love for planning. Planning really oversees land use compatibility. So as projects come in, they make sure that the project is in conformance with the zoning ordinance, state laws, as well as making sure that it's consistent with the city's general plan. So it's called the entitlement process. It's really starting the whole development process where you're taking projects to the Planning Commission for approval, and then ultimately, if they need to go, to City Council.
Okay. And typically the planning, those kind of projects are larger projects in the city that seems to bring the biggest controversy and things like that, or do they deal with small projects?
They deal with small, big things that we thought would just be relatively easy projects that no one would really care about. They have turned into really big, controversial projects before the Planning Commission.
Okay. And engineering, I mean, like I said, Brian kind of explained a little bit, but from your perspective, what does the engineering division do?
Yeah, so once the entitlement process is done and we issue either conditional use permits or approvals on development plans, engineering takes over. So they take it through what's called final engineering, and they really get into the design. I like to think of it as they're handling the horizontal. So they're dealing with grading, making sure that the site is prepared correctly, and they're making sure that all the off-site improvements, such as sewer, water connections, all of those things are properly installed. And they also have an inspection arm. And those inspectors go out to make sure that things are done in accordance with their grading permit.
And then I think you said the last group you're responsible for is our code enforcement.
Right.
And their role?
Their role is really to ensure the health and safety of the community, preserving property. They go out there basically once the community is built out and just make sure that things are safe, address complaints, and really become the eyes and ears of what's going on in Oceanside.
Overall, though, how many employees are in your division or your department? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So overall, we have about 85 full and part-time staff.
That's the inspector staff. That's everybody.
That's everyone.
Everybody gets the work done.
Yeah.
And the budget for your department is?
Yeah, our budget is $38 million.
Okay.
But we also oversee the CIP, Capital Improvement Program. And I bet Brian talked about that.
We talked a little bit about capital improvement program.
And that's $165 million. So.
Yeah, we talked about that and how important that is in the city. I think one of the mysteries sometimes, at least for me, is if I had a project or I was going to do something and I didn't know, say it's a home remodel or something.
Sure.
What role would the city have in that? Let's start with the small projects.
Sure. Basically, what I would do is assume that everything requires a building permit. I know some folks, when they come into the development services lobby, they assume that something is so small of a project that they don't need a permit. But I think it's better to assume that something needs a permit. And if it doesn't, you can ask for a permit exemption, which at least documents that hey, we acknowledge you're doing the project, but you don't need a permit. And so just taking it through the process from there into construction. And our staff in the lobby, they will take you right through the process. We have people from building and planning who are easily accessible and can help customers out and even answer engineering questions right there at the counter.
And if somebody had an issue with plan, I know a lot of times they want to see plans, or does it have to be that sophisticated? I mean, if I had a project where I thought, we're doing a remodel in my home, do I have to have very sophisticated plans and drawings?
It depends on what it is. Sometimes an architect is required. There's just different levels depending on what the project is.
So let's talk about one of those bigger projects. What might that process, what happens, say when a developer comes in and says, hey, I want to build an apartment.
Sure.
How does that happen? What's the process for that?
Yeah. So what usually happens is when a project is going through the inception, the applicant will come to the city and they'll probably do a preliminary conference, which is called a developers conference, with city staff. And that includes staff from all the different divisions and disciplines throughout the city, whether it be water, building, planning,
Fire.
and get fire.
Right.
Of course, fire, and get feedback on what are the kinds of issues or concerns that the applicant should be aware of as they're working through their application. Then they get their application submitted through planning, and then planning again will take it through the entitlement process, making sure that all of the permits are secured for the project. Sometimes that even requires going to the California Coastal Commission and requiring that a permit is needed. And then we take it through the engineering process to make sure that the horizontal portions of the project are approved, so grading, offsite improvements. Then when the applicant wants to go vertical, they apply for the building permits.
So we've shown some graphics and stuff, but how many plans do you think come through in an average year for your folks?
Probably more than 1,000.
Really?
Yes.
That they have to review and go through looking at
Right.
plan reviews.
Yeah.
And then those would correlate to, not all plans are built though, correct?
No, not all plans.
A lot of times people submit something and just decide not to do it.
Or they don't have the finances, ultimately.
Right. But most of those then would turn into multiple inspections for a particular building. So your inspectors are pretty busy.
Yeah, our inspectors are wonderful. They're all over the city, and they're inspecting a number of properties per day.
So one of the things I did want to make sure we get in is, what is your view of the city's future as development goes? What do I'm District 2.
Right.
And it's out there in the ag area. So what do you see for that area, if you can, kind of as we get near the end here?
Sure. The ag area, the last remaining ag area in Oceanside is really South Morrow Hills. And what we're doing is trying to develop a community plan to make sure that we're preserving farming. So we also have the opportunity to promote agritourism, which is farm stands, possible hotels, things like that, that could really help to provide supplemental income for farmers to help them continue farming.
And then, of course, we have our downtown development.
Yes.
That's quite controversial right now. There's a number of projects, and it's a big topic of downtown. Any other areas of the city that you see developing? Where do you see our build-out coming? When, from a planning perspective?
I see a lot of build out for the downtown. We have a cap of 5,500 units, right. And development is going really fast. All the vacant spots are pretty much taken up. And if there's an opportunity to develop, they're on it.
And one other little mystery to everybody is when we throw this out there, RHNA, what does that mean exactly?
It's the Regional Housing Needs Allocation. Okay. Sorry about that.
And that's done by the state?
Yes. The states, they basically tell cities or counties what the number is that municipality has to reach in order to meet the housing needs of that area.
Okay. And we have a certain time frame to meet those needs, is that?
Right. And that's all laid out in our housing element. It's really a plan for how we're going to meet those RHNA numbers and provide housing.
So, Darlene, one other thing I really want to talk about is how the public can have impact on the things going on here in the city. And I know there's some things that we probably need to explain quickly is about density bonus and the state's role in that. But I also want to talk about the Planning Commission a little bit. So.
Sure.
however you think it fits in there, can you kind of explain the roles there?
Well, I think what's important for the public to understand is when these state density bonus projects come before Planning Commission or City Council, who are the decision makers on these projects, whether or not they're built, it's really hard to deny it. In fact, you can't, according to the Housing Accountability Act. A lot of agencies struggle with not having that discretion. And so the state density bonus law essentially is an incentive for developers to get more density, the ability to build higher on their site in exchange for providing affordable housing units.
If I understand what you're saying then is that even though we might have a desire to limit building in a certain area, if a developer claims the density bonus availability for the project, we have to give them those things.
Yeah, if they invoke density bonus and have that request in, we basically have our hands tied to approve the project unless there are written objective findings that there's a health or safety issue that precludes us from approving it.
And that comes up quite often.
Right.
You know, people say, oh, traffic, it's going to increase traffic, or it'll make things noisier, it's going to impact my view, things like that. Those aren't really objective standards that we can deny a project on, are they?
For right now, no, unless there are some objective design standards that the city currently has in place, which is why a lot of cities are actually taking another look at their standards, their development standards, to see if they can find the out if needed.
And so from your staff's perspective, from the planning staff, and as they work with developers, they know what basically the city wants, what city council's policies are, desires. And I'm assuming they try to work with the developers ahead of time to...
Absolutely. We know what the community wants. We want the same thing. We want what's best for the community and something that could stay on and be loved and enjoyed. But at the same time, we understand that developers are going to want to have the best bang for their buck. So we work together pretty hard.
And another term that comes up is inclusionary housing.
Sure.
And can you explain that in a couple minutes?
Sure. For the city, it's really making sure that as part of a residential project, that there's an affordable opportunity for housing, whether it be building the unit on site or paying an in lieu fee. But in any case, to make sure that there is affordable housing opportunities in the city. And
the in lieu fee is money that would go, instead of building extra units on site or making them available, that would goes into a fund that the city maintains, and then over time we can, not that we build it, but we can contract out to have a project built for low income. Right. Correct? Just like the Greenbrier project that's currently under construction. Wonderful opportunity. Yeah. Anything else that you want to add that we might have not spoke about today? Well, I think it's pretty amazing how many counter visits the front counter gets. If I could just give you some stats. Sure. On a monthly basis, we have nearly 900 counter visits. Wow. We do over 600 plan reviews and 2,200 inspections. So I think our staff is definitely hard at work, and that's something that you don't see. Mostly what's happening behind the scenes, but there's a lot of stuff done online too, and we're not counting for those. Great. Perfect. Well, again, I want to thank you for being here with me today and trying to demystify a little bit about our housing and building and our various technical things that go on. So again, as we wrap up here, there's a lot of things I'm sure people might have more questions about. If they did have more questions, what's the best way for them to see some of these plans or to talk to people about questions they may have? The best resource is really the city's website. It's a great tool that we even use all the time, refer people to. They're also welcome to come into the development services lobby and ask for assistance, and we're happy to take them through the process. All right. Well, I think that just about uses up our time. I told you it'd go quick, and I appreciate you coming in for a cup of coffee with me, and we'll see you at Development Services. Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks. And with that, we'll be right back after this.
I'm CJ Demento, the host of Oceanside Spectrum, and thanks for watching.
Oceanside Spectrum resonates with the community because it is a really great platform for any organization or nonprofit to get their word out, get their message out. We like to have all of our viewers take away from Spectrum all the wonderful organizations in our community that are helping people daily.
I learn about events on Spectrum that I would not have known about before, and I like to tell my friends and family members who live in the area about these events. We're doing a great job illustrating the variety of lives and people who live in the San Diego North County region, advocating for them in a way where we're telling their stories in an in-depth way that other stations don't have the time or resources to.
Welcome back, everybody. And I want to introduce you to a new segment we're going to do from time to time in O'side Demystified. And that's to talk about some of the, for lack of a better, affiliated organizations that help the city grow and run. And I'm going to start this one off with a very special person, Carly Starr Brulo-Niles, the executive director right here of KOCT. Hi, Carly.
Hi, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm glad you could be here.
Right?
You don't really have a choice to be here, though, do you? Hey, I wanted to have you be my first guest in this capacity, just to, and I've said this before, to thank you and the staff here for helping put this program on. But I think what KOCT does, and what I've learned about KOCT, is that it's very integral to the city in many ways, and just as a partner to so many different agencies. So I'm just going to let you talk for a little bit, okay, about KOCT and what you do.
Well, KOCT Television is a pretty special place. PEG Channel is a community that helps engage the people of the community. You know, historically, they've been around for about 55 years, and KOCT has been around for 43 years. So it's been our honor to work with the city and start up and be a nonprofit and to do projects with the city, shining spotlights on activities going on or events, or mainly we do city council, as you know.
I do.
We do many projects such as a monthly show, Oceanside Update, where city leaders come in and they talk for 3 minutes about what is going on in the city. We have a monthly show, Oceanside Spectrum, hosted by CJ Demento, and we...
Who's our librarian.
It's our librarian, you know, multiple hats, big effects here in Oceanside, along with many other shows. You know, Jim Desmond, we host yours. We have KOCT Today. And what's important also is that we do a lot of production for nonprofits and city-involved partners. And that's an honor to be the person to explain all that's going on, just like you are with your show. It's been very exciting to do campaigns for very important nonprofits and city departments. So,
you know, you mentioned campaign, and that makes me think of kind of what's going on now with all how do the political things work? I know you do a candidate forum here eventually. You'll have that.
It's kind of proven that in Southern California, no one airs more election coverage than KOCT Television.
That's great.
It's been an honor to work with Kent Davey and Allison St. John. And we have a show called Journalist Roundtable. And we always bring it up in full form during our election seasons. We have candidate statements where if you are running for city office, you could come to KOCT and record your candidate statement at a very, very low effective rate. And we also have election forums where we have every department that is running, everything from congressmen to city council to mayor. We hold every type of election you can imagine.
So
that's
federal, state, local,
yes,
you deal with it all. And I think that's all important. And I think it's a great way for the public to get to hear from their elected officials. Can you share with everybody how they access KOCT? Where can I find you on my dial?
Well, if you're in the city of Oceanside, we're on Cox Channel 18 and 19. And if you're anywhere else in the world, you can get us at koct.org. If you go to KOCT.org, you can see our live stream on channel 18 and channel 19. You can watch whatever we have going
We can
down.
watch O'side Demystified?
Yes, you can.
Oh, great.
And then you can even watch archived Oceanside Demystified as well, because we have video on demand right there. Many, many projects that we have are right there on our front page. And then if you surf our website, there's a lot of interesting things like where you can donate, how you can get involved. Internship program that we have is really effective and important for our next generation filmmakers. True hands-on experience in our internships. It's pretty exciting.
So one of the things I know you give the station and you give a lot to the community and you have a lot of things that you do, but you also have some needs. So in the last minute or so, would you please talk about the needs at KOCT and how people can help keep KOCT going and expanding? And this room here for the Camcast that we do is an addition, and it wasn't available, and you introduced me to it, and it's worked out great for me. So
yeah, we've had a lot of amazing supporters. You know, we've had Jim Desmond and the county supervisors and many sponsors and people like yourself who do think of KOCT. I think it's very important that our voice is alive. We're a non-biased television station, and I think that's really important in places such as elections and everyday life in this country. I mean, we basically are a unicorn left standing in a field alone, and it's important to promote and to investigate things from a non-biased angle. So I think that's a really important aspect that this country should not lose. And that's what the PEG channel stands for.
And so people can donate, right?
They could donate by being show underwriters. If you have a show idea and you want to come and make a show at KOCT, you can for a very affordable rate. Sponsors, we always need sponsors that are very important, where you can be promoted on the television station because we're programmed 24/7, 7 days a week.
So if they just want to write you a check,
yes, or you could
too.
just write us a check. You could buy a T-shirt. You could do anything that you want to just move forward in acknowledging that KOCT is here.
Well, as you know, this time goes very quickly, and we've kind of run out of our time.
Yes.
But I want to thank you for being my first guest in this capacity. And again, thank you and everybody that works here at KOCT to make these programs and me look good personally.
Yes, Team KOCT are remarkable people, and I'm really blessed to have them here every day, in and out. It takes a servant's heart to be here, and it's an honor to work beside Team KOCT every week and people like yourself. So truly, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
Well, thanks for being here. And with that, folks, we'll be back in just a minute.
This is Did You Know on KOCT. Did you know you can intern with the award-winning staff at KOCT? My name is Matthew Sherrill, and I'm an intern at KOCT Television in Oceanside. Are you a student looking to learn more in the world of digital media? Consider KOCT's highly competitive internship program, which will provide you with valuable and lifelong experiences that will allow you to thrive in this ever-changing broadcast industry. Interns work closely with our award-winning staff in a variety of departments, from live production, editing, to marketing and social media. Join our team today and become an integral part of North County's only live stream PEG media outlet. To fill out an application, go to koct.org, email your application at intern@koct.org. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you for tuning in to this episode of O'side Demystified. I hope you learned about the complexity of development within our city. For me, local control of projects is important, but we are also subject to state regulations, which too often impacts our decision-making process. If you have a building project in mind, whether a home remodel or a downtown development project, city staff are here to help guide you through the process. Ensure your project is properly permitted, checked, and inspected. As always, if you have any suggestions for topics or questions, text them to me at 760-216-7587 or go to osid2.com. And I want to thank Carly Starr of KOCT, Oceanside's channel, for sharing the insight and all the great things they do for our city. So until next time, remember that O'side is a great place to live, work, and play. Don't make it a mystery. I'm your Councilmember Rick Robinson.